What if life doesn't end when the body stops functioning, but just begin again in another way, in another plane? Hi there, gorgeous soul. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bob Spaz, and I'm here to spark a movement of spiritual awakening in the modern world. Think for a moment. What if what we call death isn't the end, but just a change of state? What if consciousness, that what we truly are, remains alive, awake, capable of loving, of learning, of evolving in other levels of consciousness? Today we will dive into an intriguing evidence: near-death experiences, haunted houses, encounters with angels, life-saving intuitions, and déjà vu that makes you feel that you've lived a situation, that you've been here before. And in the end, at the conclusion, we will see what the Spirit's book, Heaven and Hell, and Letters from a Dead Woman will say about it. What truly awaits for us after the great transition. Near-death experiences. Have you ever heard about it? The NDEs. There are many people who came back and in first person tell their story. They were declared clinically dead, but they return with vivid memories of another plane. You will find thousands of books or videos telling their stories in first person all over the world, in all cultures. Some report floating above their body, watching their doctors try to revive them, passing through a tunnel of light, encountering with loved ones who had already made the transition. Others describe landscapes of an indescribable peace, music, colors that do not exist on earth. There are so many stories. Anita Moriani, for instance, she was suffering from terminal cancer. She fell into a deep coma. For hours, she was considered beyond recovery. But she returns and cured. She describes her passage through a state of plenitude, where she could understand the essence of life, the power of unconditional love and self-acceptance. Researchers are trying to explain, trying to say it was simply a chemical reaction of the dying brain. But how? How can you explain that if the brain was dead? Patients that describe conversations that took place in the operating room while they were dead. Or they can say where objects were that were out of their physical vision. Many stories. Haunted houses. Have you ever heard about that? The invisible. Practically every culture there are reports of haunted houses. Strange features. You can see them through the window. Objects that move. Perfumes that come from nowhere, out of the blue, silhouettes that resemble the deceased relatives. From a spiritualistic perspective, those are characteristics that indicate that those spirits remain here closed, attached to places, to unresolved emotions, to situation. The Book of Spirits explain that these cases often involve spirits who have not understood that they have already made the transition, because they feel they are alive, they feel they have a body, they feel intense emotion that ties them to the physical realm. What about angels? Rescues that you cannot explain. Some people say that they were miraculously saved by something that they cannot explain. A woman decides to change her usual route to work after hearing a voice inside of her mind. Change your route today. And then she discovers later that there was an accident in the place that she was always passing every day, in the very street that she usually uses. How can I explain that? Or a truck driver that brakes seconds before a bridge falls down, or an invisible hand pull the steering wheel. How can you explain that? For spiritualists, those are signs of guardian angels, spirits that are here, mentors to help us, because it's not yet our time to go. We're still having something to learn here. What about intuition, déjà vu? Who had never had this feeling of, my God, I knew that was going to happen? Or you go to a place and you feel so familiar, or you just met someone and it's like a reunion, someone you've never seen before. Déjà vu, according to the spiritual view, can be a flash of memories of past lives. It is as if the soul, for a second, recognizes another soul in a different body. Strong intuitions that save lives or open paths can also be a sign that our higher consciousness, our spiritual guides, our mentors, are trying to guide us. What does spirituality teach us? Now we come to the most profound point. What really happens after the transition, after the end of the cycle of the physical body? According to the Spirit's book, in the question 150, Allan Kardec asks, what does the soul become after the moment of death? The answer is clear. It becomes a spirit again. That is, it returns to the world of spirits, to the spiritual realm where we all came from. In the book Heaven and Hell, Kardec presents letters from spirits describing the end of the physical body experiences. Some speak of joy, of freedom, and others of mental suffering, regrets, loneliness. Everything is a direct result of how they chose to live their lives here once they were here in earth. In the book Letters from a Dead Woman, it was channeled through Chico Xavier from his mother, Maria João de Deus. She reveals moving details, the reunion with family members that welcomed her into the spiritual realm, the feeling of being awakened, someone waking up from a deep sleep, the discovery of cities, schools, jobs in the invisible world. Everything goes on. These works tell us something very powerful. Death is not the end. It's just a transition to true life, the life of the spirit. But we should not be in a rush. So the question remains, are you living in a way that honors what will take place, what is going to truly happen when you are at the other side? Because if life doesn't really end, every choice, every act of love, every step towards evolution is building what we will find once we are there, once we cross this mysterious door. And don't cry a lot if you miss somebody, because all of us will go eventually to the same place. I remember when I was 6 years old and my mother came back home and she was crying. We were sitting in a Chesterfield couch that was brown leather with big buttons, and I asked, why are you crying, Mama? She said, your grandmother just passed away. I asked again, I was 6, huh? But why are you crying, Mama? She said, oh, you are too young, you don't understand. I will never see my mother again. I said, of course you will. We all go to the same place. So how are you living your life?